The diplomatic quarter of New Geneva Station gleamed with artificial starlight, a monument to humanity's stubborn insistence on building bridges across the galaxy. James Chen sat at his desk reviewing trade agreements between Earth and the Draconian Empire, when something impossible crashed through his reinforced window. A child. No, not quite a child. The girl who tumbled across his floor in a shower of crystalline glass bore the unmistakable features of Draconian royalty. Scales that shimmered like mother of pearl, eyes with vertical pupils that glowed amber, and small horns barely visible through her silver hair. She couldn't have been more than 8 standard years old. "Please," she gasped, her translator pendant crackling with interference. "They hurt my mother. You have to help." James recognized her immediately. Everyone in the diplomatic corps knew the face of Princess Jessica, only daughter of Emperor Zarthun, ruler of 300 worlds. What he didn't understand was why she was here, bleeding blue blood from a gash across her shoulder, trembling in his office on a human station. "Jessica? Your Highness, what?" "My mother," the girl repeated, and James saw something flicker in those alien eyes. Something ancient and terrible, struggling against the innocence of youth. The consortium. They came during the trade summit. Said the Emperor needed to sign new treaties. When Mother refused, her voice broke. They hurt her. The Zelrathi consortium. James's blood ran cold. The multi-species corporate alliance had been pushing aggressive expansion policies for years, but attacking Draconian royalty? That was suicide. Unless they'd calculated that eliminating the Empress and her heir would create enough chaos to... An explosion rocked the station. "They're here," Jessica whispered. And now James heard it. The distinctive whine of plasma weaponry, screams echoing through the corridors. "They followed me. They want to make sure there are no witnesses." James grabbed his emergency kit, years of training overriding his shock. "The panic rooms. We need to... No." Jessica's voice had changed. Deeper. Older. Her pupils had expanded until her eyes were pools of molten gold. "No more running." The girl stood, and James watched in horrified fascination as her body began to change. The scales spread across her skin, hardening into armor. Her small frame expanded, bones cracking and reforming with sounds that should have been agonizing. But Jessica wasn't screaming in pain, she was smiling. "Do you know what humans did that impressed my father?" she asked, her voice now carrying harmonics that made James's teeth ache. "When your kind first entered the galactic stage, you were soft. Weak. Everyone expected you to be conquered, enslaved, or exterminated within a decade." The door to James's office exploded inward. 3 consortium shock troops entered, their combat armor bristling with weapons. They froze when they saw Jessica. "But you didn't die," she continued, ignoring the soldiers. "You adapted. You learned. You took every species' advantages and made them your own through technology, through tactics, through sheer stubborn refusal to surrender. My father calls it the human protocol, the willingness to become whatever you must to protect what you love." One soldier raised his weapon. Jessica moved. James had seen Draconian warriors in combat simulations. They were formidable, strong, fast, with centuries of martial tradition. What he witnessed now was something entirely different. Jessica's claws, now the size of short swords, carved through military-grade armor like tissue paper. She moved with inhuman speed, each strike precisely calculated to disable rather than kill. In 3 seconds, all 3 soldiers were on the ground unconscious, their weapons scattered. "The dragons have combat protocols too," Jessica said, examining her claws with clinical detachment. "Dormant genetic sequences buried deep. They awaken when we experience true rage, true fear, true loss. But my mother, she's half human." "Your grandmother was from Earth," James stared. "That information wasn't in any official records." "So my protocols are different," Jessica continued. She turned to face him fully, and James saw that while her body had transformed into something terrifying, her face remained achingly young. "I have the Draconian heritage, the strength, the scales, the ancient combat instincts, but I also have the human protocol, the ability to assess, adapt, and overcome any threat through pure determination." More soldiers poured into the corridor outside. James could hear their tactical communications, their confident chatter. They thought they were hunting a child. "Stay here," Jessica said. Then she paused, glancing back at James with something like vulnerability flickering across her alien features. When this is over, will you help me save my mother? Yes, James said without hesitation. Because that's what humans did. They kept their promises, even when facing impossible odds. Jessica nodded once, then launched herself into the corridor. What followed would be analyzed by military strategists for years to come. A single 8-year-old hybrid, her draconian combat protocols enhanced by human adaptability and tactical thinking, systematically dismantled an entire consortium assault team. She used the station's architecture against them, turning human-designed corridors into kill zones. She adapted their own weapons, modified their tactics, and demonstrated the one thing that made both dragons and humans truly terrifying. She learned from every encounter, growing more efficient with each fight. By the time station security arrived, Jessica stood in the center of the diplomatic quarter, surrounded by unconscious soldiers, her scales gradually fading back to skin. She was crying, not from pain or fear, but from the sheer emotional weight of what she'd done. James approached slowly, carefully, as one might approach a wounded animal. "Your mother?" he asked gently. Jessica looked up, her eyes human again except for that faint amber glow. "Still alive. I can feel her through our bond, but weak. We need to go." "Then we go," James said. He activated his diplomatic credentials, overriding station protocols. "I'll get us a ship. We'll need weapons, supplies, and probably a few crazy humans willing to storm the Draconian Palace." For the first time since crashing through his window, Jessica's expression softened into something like hope. "The human protocol?" she asked. James smiled grimly. "The human protocol? We protect our own, and whether your father likes it or not, you're half human. That makes this our fight." As they moved toward the docking bay, Jessica slipped her small hand into James's. Behind them, consortium soldiers groaned in the wreckage. Ahead, an empire waited in chaos. But between a dragon emperor's daughter with combat protocols written into her DNA and a human diplomat stubborn enough to declare war for a promise, the consortium had made one fatal miscalculation. They'd forgotten that the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy weren't the ones with the sharpest claws or the strongest armor. They were the ones who refused to let their loved ones suffer, no matter the cost. And humanity had taught the galaxy that lesson well.